Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the 5-10-5 or the Pro Agility or the 20-yard shuttle. This is a drill we use with our athletes all the time, even when they come in on their evaluation. Now we know not everybody does this for their sport, but it's a great drill that has a lot of data that shows us some measurements on time. So we know if you're running at some time, we know about where you're at as far as your performance level. And then also changing 180 degrees, that's one of the hardest cuts that you can make in any sport. So being able to watch you guys cut into something or cut out of something is something that we like to see when somebody first comes in. Now, the 5-10-5, we see it done all the time. Even in the combine, you'll see some of the elite athletes. Now, sometimes it's not done that efficiently. So if you know that you know maybe that like your times aren't as good as somebody else's, or you know that maybe I'm not as quick as somebody else, if you can learn how to be efficient in this is going to make you kill this drill. Also, if you know that you already are quick, you learn these steps exactly for this drill, you're going to put up some times that's going to make some college guys look at you. So the first thing that we work on is the transition on the first 5 yards. So we don't even work on the starting point, we actually work on that last cut. So I like to show them first. I'll demonstrate, hey, we're going to come from the 5 yards and I'm working my way into this first transition right here. Now I actually have them, okay, where they're going to be in this position to where I'm about to take my transition step. So my last 2 steps where I'm getting to that line, okay? So I start them back where they're thinking I'm about ready to get into that. Now, the first 5 yards is a lot of debates on should we side run so I shouldn't completely turn my hips, should I rip my legs all the way through so I completely turn my hips. We like to try to make it as natural as we possibly can. So if Jake was on that white line right there, we had one of our athletes, we try to teach them to where when they start coming, they are on their first step, we're going to start turning our hips a little bit, but as I'm getting into my last transition, I'm actually going to start turning them back. So we don't like to get completely square, okay, but I don't like to just do this side run because to me that's a slow motion, okay, and it's unnatural. So again, we're going to work our way, we're going to start from this position and I'm going to work my way into that transition. I'm going to teach them that first. Before we even put our hand down, okay, I'm going to just focus on my last 2 steps. We call it the transition. So we're going to go left, right, okay, if I'm going to my right. So I'm going to step in, I'm going to go left, and then I'm going to go right. When I get into this position, okay, I'm going to have my weight shifted. Okay, so my weight's all on my inside, my weight's on the outside edge here, the inside edge here. I'm on the balls of my feet. I actually want this foot up in the ground. You're thinking about I got cleats on right now. I'm digging through that inside edge of my foot right here. My heel's off the ground, so when I make that cut, I can get through that really quick. So again, we work on just landing in this position as quick as we can before we start talking about putting our hand down. If I get them to be able to hit this perfectly, now this first step comes out and you're going to have success for the next 10 yards of the drill. So again, we start with this mainly because if you crush the first 5 yards, you're going to have a lot of success on this drill. Everybody focuses on exactly where should each step go or anything like that. We've found out that if we can get you in and out of that first 5 yards at the beginning, your times are going to be really awesome. They're going to be in those low 4s. Some of our guys have been able to even break 4 seconds. So again, I'm going to actually have Jake demonstrate now so I can explain. So Jake's going to start like he's almost here and he's running into this position. So his right leg's forward. He's going to take 2 steps. He's not worrying about his hands right now, but he's just working on trying to get to this line, okay? And he's going to get his weight shifted. So even right there, you can see how his foot came out a little bit, okay, with some of our bigger guys. So if you're an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or you know that you don't have the mobility to get down, we might widen up your feet, okay? For right now, Jake's going to get back in this. His feet are going to be hip width apart. His weight's going to be on his edges. This right toe is going to be out in front of him a little bit. Now, Jake, go again. Now, Jake's going to show you something that we see all the time. When he comes into this position, his back foot is going to be behind him, okay? So, ready, go. He's going to step. Now, see how his back leg's behind him? Looks like he's in a good spot, but if this is behind you when you go to this white line, this is one of the biggest mistakes or the most common mistakes that we see. This foot's going to have to swing around. So when he goes and runs, now he's going to be running 11 or 12 yards instead of just that 10. Okay, so when you first come into this transition, okay, one of the easiest things to work on and focus on is make sure that your feet are parallel. If anything else, bring that right foot out in front of you. So Jake, this time let's get all the way to the line. On you. So now you see him in this position. Okay, his weight shifted. Okay, this foot's out in front of him, so he's got a chance to make this next 10 yards a success. He's gonna be able to pop out of that quick. Okay, relax. Okay, so we're gonna beat that into our athletes. First day, we might only just work on that, not even work on our hands. So we're thinking about, I'm getting into that as quick, as perfect as I can so I can work on punching and getting out of that as quick and as perfect as I can. Once We get them really, really elite and really perfect at that, to where it's almost like every single time they do it, it's 100% perfect. Then we start incorporating the hands. So again, we start from this spot. Once I get it down, boom, I get here, make sure my weight's good. If they have a bad rep, restart them, pull their feet back, make them go again. When they get in here, if they're perfect, then what we'll do is we'll have them put their hand down. So when my hand's down, the goal is for it to be right in line with my foot. Okay, Jake, get in this for me. So he's gonna step into it. Okay, now here, okay, Jake even went past the line a little bit, okay, which sometimes happens, okay, when we have, when we have some of our bigger guys, we teach them to go past the line, okay, but when he's in this position, okay, my hand should be here, my feet are here. Now the left hand can't touch anymore for this drill, so inside hand can't touch. His head and his weight is gonna start going in the direction that I'm going here, so eyes going that way, Jake, okay, not that much, just a little bit. So I want your head thinking about going to the direction that you're about to go, so towards the middle of the drill. And I'm gonna have you pop out, ready, go. Good. So we're gonna break that down. Again, so the first one, I'm just having them step into it, trying to land this perfect. Okay, next one, I'm gonna say transition, so that's what that is. Okay, then I'm gonna say hand, they're gonna go down, make sure they're good. The next one, I'm gonna say transition, they step into it, I'm gonna say hand, okay, and I'm gonna say come out of that. Now when I come out of that, again, my head's here, and I'm trying to get them to just stay low, push through this leg, rip my right knee through, push smooth and easy into that position. If you learn how to crush this first transition right here, you're gonna have a ton of success on this drill. So after you learn that transition, now we start actually working on the steps to get into that. Now before you start learning the steps to get through that 5 yards, okay, we gotta work on our start. So now when you're starting, okay, we want the line, it's gonna start right in the center of your, right underneath your body. So when you're going, sometimes you'll have a coach teach you to cheat like this. I'll actually see if I'm going this way. Sometimes people are already cheating themselves, they're going right here. We try to teach it to where you're as balanced as possible, okay? Because that's usually what's gonna happen if you're actually getting tested at a drill, or you're at a combine or some sort of showcase to where they're making you run this drill. So we try to teach you the way that they're gonna hold you accountable to. If they want you to put a different hand down or they let you shift your weight, we'll let that happen. So when we start, again, the white line is right underneath my body, right in between my legs. My right hand's gonna be down if I'm going to my right, okay? My hips are gonna stay high, okay? My head's gonna be down, and I'm barely gonna touch the line. Okay, what I see a lot of times is people put their weight out on their hands, so when they come up, they have to push off the ground like this, so they're here, and now my first motion's like that. Time's already going, you already lost a 1/10 of a second. So again, okay, my hips stay high, my hand is barely touching the ground, and I like my opposite hand in this position, so when I take my step, I can go through here, okay? Last thing is your head's gotta be relaxed. So when you start in this position, you wanna take a deep breath, make sure that your head is completely relaxed and it's down, so that when you go into that transition, we're not popping straight up, we're actually going down into those first 5 yards. So again, it's gonna look like this. It's here, hips up, hand up, relaxed head, get the weight onto the edges, and then from here, I can explode and come out of that. Okay, so now the steps for the transition are for the first 5 yards. Okay, again, so I'm gonna come over here, start on this line. Okay, as I'm gonna go, it's gonna be 4 total steps. But I'm thinking about in my head, I'm going 1, 2, and then we call it transition. Transition is your last 2 steps. We're gonna do that there. We're gonna do that at the 10 yards, and then we're gonna do the same thing when we run an L drill, which we'll show in a later video. So again, I'm starting here. I'm gonna have my athletes, so we're gonna walk it through at the beginning, so I won't even make it to that 5 yards, because I'm just trying to teach them the steps. My hips are up, my hands down, head's relaxed, weight shifted, okay? I'm gonna say step. They're gonna go 1, 2, weight is already shifted where I wanna go. Okay, I'm gonna say step, they're gonna go their last 2, step, step. I'm gonna say transition, they put their hand down, they're like this. So when I do this drill, okay, I'm sorry, my head's down in that video right there. So when I'm doing this drill, okay, they work on walking through those first 4 steps, okay? By the time they run the full drill, okay, it should just be automatic. It should be able to, they know they're hitting that first 5 yards, perfect, smooth, boom, popping out of it, killing the next 10 yards. So once they start getting good at it, okay, we're gonna work our way through it to where I'm actually going a little bit quicker, so it's gonna be step, weight shifted, step, weight shifted, next one, transition, hands down, like this. Okay, now I'm gonna have Jake, he's gonna actually go through the whole drill. Okay, so Jake's gonna go right hand down, hips up. He's gonna work himself into here. Now this first one we're thinking about every time we talk to our athletes is 75, 80% smooth. Make sure we land perfect. If we don't land perfect, we don't come out of it. We reset, start over. Ready? Go. Perfect. So now if you watch Jake, okay, his first step he kind of dragged, okay, because he knows he has to gain a lot of ground at the beginning to get that 5 yards because he's going slow. Okay, so when you first start, again, work on just hitting your first 4 steps. Once you get that right, okay, then you can start speeding it up like this. So Jake, hit it again. One other thing that Jake did right there too is he kind of rose up when he came out of that beginning. Okay, we don't want to do that. If we lose time vertically, again, we lose 1/10 of a second on this. 1/10 of a second in this drill can kill you. Okay, here we go. Ready? Set, go. Perfect. So there it is right there. So if you see him, okay, now he shifted his weight. He's landing over here. He took his 2 steps. This back leg was in line. His hands down. Okay? Now your goal is to start trying to figure out how do I get into that as perfect as I can. If you work on those first 4 steps, you work on that top end of that transition, you work on just hitting inside of that line right here, okay? It's gonna make you kill that first 5 yards. And again, the first 5 yards is the most important of the 5-10-5. Okay, so after you master the first 5 yards, then we work ourselves into the 10. Now, the 10 yards, you're going so fast into it, we try to make the athlete think as least amount as possible. So in their head, I'm thinking about my last 2 steps right there is right, left. Or if you're coming the other direction, you're thinking about left, right. Okay, it's a total of 6 steps that you want to take to be able to get into that. But again, I'm trying to get them to think about all they're thinking in their head is right, left into that. So if this is my 10-yard line, I'm coming in my head, I'm thinking about that transitions, boom, right, left. Now this foot's out in front of me, my weight shifted, and I got to be here. Now, the difference between this from the first 5 yards is this 10 yards, now we've gained all of this speed going into that. It's going to be a lot harder to transition. So they really got to make sure their weight is shifted towards the middle. Your center of gravity is coming towards the middle, and my eyes and my head are coming towards the middle. So when they get into that 10, they really have to be aggressive with getting that weight on that right side. So it's here, all my weight's here, and then I come to here so I can just touch and my weight pushing, coming through this to where I'm finishing low through the transition. Okay, so again, the 10 yards, okay, is going to be a total of 6 steps. Okay, so I'm thinking about on my last 2, okay, on 5 and 6 is that transition where I'm hitting that right, left. My weight is going to come through the inside. Now, we actually like to teach the guys, I told you again, we like our athletes thinking the smallest amount as possible. So we like them coming in and just thinking about the last 2 steps. So then when they start getting good at it, we speed it up, we speed it up, we speed it up, and eventually they can just hit that, pop, and come out of it. The last thing is on the finish when you're coming through the 10. So if I get through the 10 yards, I hit here, and now I'm coming back through that finish. I want to make sure that my weight is out in front of me, almost like I'm falling forward. Now we don't have to try to run another 20 yards. We only have to get this 5 yards. Okay, so we want to make sure they hit, okay, come through this as efficiently as possibly can, and my head and my body is coming through the line. Okay, what we see so often is they do the first 5 yards good, they come through the 10 yards, and then they stand straight up and run through this. If you stand straight up, again, we lost that time vertically, we're going to lose another 1/10 of a second on that. Okay, so quick overview of the 5-10-5 or the Pro Agility. Okay, is first thing that you want to do if you're teaching it or if you're learning it is just walk it through. So a demonstration first, make sure you feel what you're doing, you know where you're at. Okay, and then the first big step that we work on, okay, is that top end of that transition. So again, I'm going to start behind the line. I'm acting like I'm getting into it. I'm working on just getting my feet into the right spot. Get your weight in the right spot. Don't let my weight get down to here. Don't shift to here. Get that foot out in front of you. Then you work on that step. Work on getting my hand down into that, getting my head and my weight shifting through here, okay? Then you're gonna work on those first 4 steps coming into this. So I'm gonna work on my start, where that line's right in the center of my body, hands down, weight's here. I work on hitting those steps perfect to where I get into that line, hand goes down here, trying to pop out of that as smooth as I can. You master the first 5 yards, then you're thinking about your last 10 yards. Again, on those 10 yards, think about your last 2 steps. What are those going to be? If you can anticipate that, you can get into that step, you're going to have a lot more success coming out of that 10 yards because you're going so fast into that. And then when you finish, make sure you stay low, keep your weight out in front of you, kill the drill.